Oh, I'm discovering lines. Don't mind me.
I have plenty of pictures of those too.
Oh, no, wait, there was another line she said before that. I keep forgetting. What's the next thing and think? Yeah. Bella swings herself to the next row, out of sight.
I got plenty of pictures of those too. Hopefully Valerie knows what to do with them. Consider this payback, whores.
She smirks to herself as she walks back over to Valerie, who's guiltledly staring at the floor.
Did you do it?
She says as her voice quavers.
Yes.
Bella hands Valerie back her phone. Valerie cringes as she scrolls through her camera roll to examine the photos. She comes across Bella's photos of Kayla and Rumi.
Why'd you take pictures of them? Extra material. They used to hang around Michael, so I want you to use that too. The agreement was that I'd only do this to Charlotte.
She says in a hushed yet threatening whisper.
Why are we bringing in those two thoughts? Considering that you almost blew your chance at getting the stuff over on Charlotte and I had to do it, think of it as a favor to me for doing your job. Besides, Kai wouldn't care about damaging those two. He'd probably encourage it.
Valerie lets out a sigh.
Fine, whatever. I'll include them. I still need an example of Michael's handwriting, though. Somebody else will take care of that. Cool, so we're done here? Yeah, I think...
Bella, said someone. Bella, where are you? Bella lets out a groan as Valerie looks back at her suspiciously. A girl pokes her head around the corner.
Oh, there you are.
Bella turns back to face Nikki as she fully steps into view.
What are you doing back here? Oh, hey, Nikki. I was catching up with Valerie here and lost track of time. Oh, I didn't know you two were friends. Yeah, we really don't get the chance to talk often because of our schedules. Got you. I don't think we've been introduced, Valerie. I know you're in my literature class with Mr. Zawinski. I am. It's great to officially meet you, Nicole. Bella's told me so much about you. How have you been?
Valerie says as she walks up to hug her.
Just Nikki is fine, and it's good to meet you too, Valerie.
Nikki says as she awkwardly returns the embrace. After a brief moment, Valerie pulls away.
Oh, well, hey, we better get ready or we'll be late. Bella, it was so great talking to you. Thank you so much for doing that favor, and I'll be in touch.
Bella flashes a small smile.
That's no problem. I'll see you later.
Nikki and Bella leave Valerie alone to get changed as they head back to their lockers. Once they get out of earshot, once again, one word, Nikki turns to Bella.
Oh, so what was that all about? You never mentioned you were friends with Valerie.
Bella lets out a sigh.
Yeah, we're friends. We haven't talked in a while because our schedules are so different. Interesting. I'm surprised you never introduced us before. Must have slipped my mind, I guess. Yeah, I'm just surprised I didn't think she'd be the type of person you'd hang around. Why is that? Well, she's just very bitchy sometimes. I have literature with her, and she's just very aggressive towards people. She has a big chip on her shoulder, if you ask me. And she runs debate club with an iron fist from what I've heard. Well, we just clicked. I met her in a class one day, and we just got along.
Nikki stares back at Bella unconvincingly.
Oh, that's really all there is to it. Or no, that's really all there is to it. I don't know why you're making such a big deal. I'm not, I just...
Nikki cuts herself off.
Oh, fine. Let's just get ready to go.
The two girls turn to their row of lockers to get ready for their gym class. It's not even 10 minutes into my class before lunch, and I'm already bored as hell doing this assignment. I've resorted to doodling on my note sheet as I occasionally respond to texts from Sam. Thankfully, the teacher lets us work at our own pace. Ever since Sam gave me her number, we've been talking a lot more. I guess she's more comfortable talking behind the screen than face-to-face, which is pretty understandable. I just hope things keep going well. My train of thought gets derailed by my sudden urge to use the restroom. I get out of my seat and grab the hall pass from the teacher before heading out. As Michael leaves the room, Victor, who is sitting in the back corner, slowly gets out of his seat and walks over to Michael's desk. I walk out of the restroom and back out into the empty hallway, being greeted by the sun shining through the windows. I check my phone and figure that it's a little too soon for me to head back to class, so I decide to milk an extra minute or two by standing around. I decide to walk over to the window and stare out into the gorgeous view of the courtyard. There's not too many people out there about right now, considering it's class time, but I figure those who are out there are probably either on their lunch break or study hall. Right in the middle of the courtyard is our school's cherry blossom tree, which happens to be in full bloom during this time of year. I've heard all kinds of stories about that cherry blossom tree, most of which I've just chalked up to being urban legend. The one story I've heard the most was the one that involves taking your crush under the cherry blossom tree on a Friday right at sunset. Supposedly your crush is supposed to accept your confession. From what I've heard, everyone that's ever tried it had it work out for them. Not that I've ever put too much stock into those stories. Aside from that, the only thing I really know about it was that the state gifted it to the school for its 10th year anniversary, which was nearly 60 years ago now. Oh, sorry, for it is 10th year. Hard to believe this place is that old. They've definitely kept it in tip-top shape, especially in the grounds department. This place has a weird obsession for its trees. I mused to myself as I turn around and begin walking back to my class, but not before seeing someone familiar by the water fountain filling up a drink. At the water fountain? Oh wait, no, he's talking about the fountain in the hall. Never mind. Huh, no way. Hey, Sam. Sam looks over her shoulder to see who had called her, giving me a warm smile upon seeing me.
Hey, Michael.
Fancy running into you here at this hour.
Yeah, just filling up on some water.
Nice, nice.
Yep, so what were you looking at out there?
Oh, I was just spacing out, looking at the courtyard.
I love the courtyard. It's my favorite spot on campus. Well, besides the oak tree, of course. The only reason I don't really go by it is because there's too many people that walk through there. But it has been a good while since I visited.
Well, if you wanted, we could have lunch there later. Sam's eyes light up with excitement.
Really? That would be amazing.
Yeah, I don't see why not. I haven't spent a whole lot of time there myself, either.
Well, I guess we'll both have something to look forward to. Or duo.
She says as she brightly beams at me. I think this might be the happiest I've ever seen her. It's so... I pumped the brakes on my train of thought.
So, see you then.
Yeah, see you then.
Great.
Just as we're both about to walk away, out of the corner of my eye, I see someone walk past us. I turn around to see a tall, slender figure holding a paper in his hand as he strides off down the hallway. I immediately recognized him. Victor?
Who?
Oh, it's nobody. Nobody important.
Okay then. Well, I'll see you after the bell. I'll meet you by the cherry blossom tree.
You got it. Sam and I smile at each other one last time before heading our separate ways. Just as soon as I've turned away and I'm at a good distance away from Sam, my mind begins to race. Why the hell did Victor walk past us? What's he doing out of class? Was he trying to eavesdrop on us? Oh, pardon me. I then recall seeing the paper he had in his hand. It was probably nothing. Maybe Mr. Lucas had him go down to the office to drop something off. I've done nothing to warrant his attention anyways. Just stop making a big deal out of things and look forward to lunch. I think to myself as I open the door and head back into class. Just, if you're gonna, like I said, just be consistent. If they're thinking it, italicize it. My God, why? Just why? Victor strides into the school's courtyard, making a beeline to the cherry blossom tree. He sees a girl sitting on a nearby bench reading a book. There she is, Victor thought gladly to himself. He approaches and hands her the piece of paper. Valerie sighs as she puts her book down and looks over the paper.
Is this good enough for you? Yeah, this should do. You think you can have it ready by next period? Kai needs it as soon as possible and we're running short on time. I should be able to. I shouldn't take too long. No, it shouldn't take too long. His handwriting seems simple enough to mimic. It'll be ready at the library by that printer in the corner, just like we agreed. Good. Just don't screw up and don't get caught.
Valerie scoffs.
I'll do my job. Just make sure you do yours and don't let this get it back to me. It won't. Chill.
Victor says as he walks away from Valerie and heads back into the building. Valerie groans as she looks back over the paper that Victor handed her.
It would have been nice if he handed me something else, but a note sheet should suffice. At least he signed his name in cursive at the top. That'll certainly help.
Valerie stuffs the paper into her bag and begins walking towards the library. Who the hell signs their own note sheets? Valerie enters the library and walks to the back corner away from everyone else. She finds a computer and sets her stuff down, taking out the note sheet she was given. Valerie opens her camera app and scrolls to the photos of Charlotte, Kayla, and Ruby. As the computer boots up, she longingly stares at the load icon. She then looks back at her phone and the note sheet, sighing as she takes out a blank piece of paper and a mechanical pencil. Studying Michael's handwriting, she traces the outlines of his words on the paper before copying the motions a few times. Valerie then turns to the blank sheet of paper she had just gotten out. She suddenly finds her hand shaking. Okay, there's something messed up. Then turns to the blank sheet of paper she had just gotten out. That should be the end of the sentence. She suddenly finds her hand shaking. Her seat is massively uncomfortable. Valerie then takes a look at the computer. It had finished loading. She then takes a look back down at the photo of Charlotte on her phone. She quickly glances away, staring at a nearby bookshelf before taking a few deep breaths and turning back to the paper, beginning to write out random words and phrases. After writing down a few things, she compares what she had written to Michael's note sheet. She traces over a few more of his sentences and copies the motions onto her sheet of paper. She then copies a few sentences that Michael had written. After a few tries, she gets it to where it looks just like Michael's handwriting. She then repeats the process with Michael's signature, practicing signing his name to the point where she's personally satisfied with the result.
Okay, that should be good,
she mutters to herself.
Now what the hell am I going to say about you?
She says, pointing to the picture of Charlotte with the eraser side of her pencil. Valerie stares at the lewd image, probing her mind to think of the most unseemly things a boy her age would say if he saw what she was looking at. The longer she stares at the picture and the longer she thinks it over, the more uncomfortable her chair feels.
Oh, damn it,
she says, setting down her pencil over the picture and resting her forehead on her hands.
Why did he have to come up with something like this? This is what I get for selling myself to that parasite.
She leans back in her seat and stares up at the ceiling.
I never felt like this when I was doing it to get at Monica.
Monica. That name echoed inside her head. That tratious, salty bitch. She clutches her knuckles. Couldn't handle drawing the short straw for club president and decided to storm out of the club acting all high and mighty. That selfish ass. She scoffs to herself. She was always such a sore loser, always putting herself first. She could never handle debating me. She always knew I'd call her out on her shit. She could never accept when she was beaten. I know this is supposed to be your inner monologue, but it's not italicized, so yeah. Monica might have been a fine opener and had some good presentation skills, but I was always better at cross-examining. Everyone knew that. Thinking something like her could ever lead us. Or was it did I hear that wrong? Thinking someone like her could ever lead us. The nerve of that twit. She never would have held a candle to Jenna or Caitlin. She was always too soft and spineless. And she would have dragged the club under her for her own ends. Her sarcasm and puns, and the way she wore that stupid bow. She then stares back down at the picture of Charlotte. Suddenly, she remembers what Kai told her.
Charlotte is a good friend to your old rival, Monica Reynolds. I know how much you two hate each other. I think you'd enjoy another opportunity to knock her down a peg. That's right. You're Monica's little friend,
she says as she eyes up the image and picks up her pencil.
Well, any friend of Monica is an enemy of mine.
Channeling her anger, Valerie puts her pencil to the paper, writing out the crudest things she could think of about the photo in front of her. After writing out a few lines for a few of the different Charlotte pictures, she compares what she wrote to Michael's handwriting.
Well, it did convince me,
she pleasantly mused to herself. She then scrolls over to the photos of Kayla and Ruby that Bella took.
Well, this is simple enough.
She writes out a few lines for a couple of the photos before looking at the time.
I guess that's all I have time for. If he says this isn't enough, he can jerk off to these.
She connects her phone to the computer and uploads the photos. Valerie then proceeds to print off the photos in the back corner of the room, having to use her school ID to swipe off on the printer in order for it to go through. She then brings the photos back to the computer and copies the lines over to the corresponding pictures. In total, there's 3 different Charlotte pictures and 2 pictures of Kayla and Ruby that she decided to use. Those were objectively the most compromising. At least to her. She then takes the photos back to the printer and puts them at the bottom of a pile of blank papers, just as Kai had asked her to do. Valerie then shoots Kai a quick text letting her know that she was done and that the photos were ready for him. She sighed to herself as she signed out of the computer, picked up her belongings, and left the library.
Hopefully this whole thing is over and done with,
she thought to herself as she strides out into the hallway. The school bell rings, signifying the start of the next period. The hallways are crowded and traffic is extremely slow. However, there is a peculiar silence sweeping around the school despite the excess amounts of students cluttering the hallways. The usual chatter has been replaced by hushed whispers, gasps, and an occasional whistle among the crowds. Large groups of students are huddled around various doors, stairwells, and lockers. Many of the students are on their phones, frantically texting or calling their friends about what was going on. Amidst the growing chaos, a door to one of the classrooms opens, and Charlotte steps out into the hallway. She sees the large crowd of students huddled in front of the main stairway.
Never change, Saint Salvato,
she sighs to herself as she steps out into the hallway and begins walking towards the stairwell. As she walks past her fellow classmates, she begins to feel hundreds of sets of eyes beginning to look at her. She uncomfortably looks around her to see nearly everyone staring at her. What is going on here? She holds her books tightly to her chest. She looks over to a small group of boys to her left, smirking at her. "Sup, baby girl? You looking fine today."
Oh, geez, thanks.
Not that she wasn't used to occasionally getting hit on by guys, no thanks to her chest, but this felt different. Unpleasantly different. She resumes her walk forward as a flurry of comments begin volleying at her. You doing anything this weekend? You should drop by my place.
Yeesh, way to put yourself out there. Never knew you had it in you. Talk about a hidden beauty. You trying to get into modeling or something? I know a guy who can help.
What is going on with everyone? Charlotte stops in her tracks, giving everyone a bewildered look. She's met with a mixture of smirks, glares, and confused looks. Charlotte then feels someone tightly grab her arm. A cold hand softly caresses her backside.
Eek!
She spins around to see who had touched her. She looks up to see a tall man in a suit and tie staring down at her. He has to be a teacher.
It's okay, Charlotte. You're safe with me.
Don't touch me.
She shakes her hand off of her and She shakes his hand off of her and takes a few steps back from him.
Hey, it's okay. I'm here to protect you. No need to act so defensive.
Yeah, sure. When does a teacher touch their students, especially in that way?
I'm just trying to ease your mind. You seemed stressed. Perhaps my timing was inappropriate. I imagine you're going through a lot since those photos are out for everyone to see.
Photos?
Charlotte stares back at him, utterly bemused.
What are you talking about? What photos?
Mr. Zawinski points to something on the wall where a large crowd of people are still gathered. Charlotte scoffs at him as she turns on her heel, forcing her way through the crowd of students. She gets about halfway through the crowd before the rest of the students murmur to themselves and part out of the way for her.
What in the Lord's name is going on here?
She says as she finally reaches the wall. The crowd has gone dead silent. Charlotte gazes up at what Mr. Zawinski had been pointing to.
What? What is this?
She drops her books in shock. They land on the floor in a loud thud that echoes throughout the hallway. Do her eyes deceive her? There's no way. Charlotte lets out a shaky breath as tears begin to bubble up from under her eyes. Who would do such a thing? Before Charlotte's very eyes was a lewd picture of her, in her bra and underwear, reaching for something in her locker. There was a crude, nasty caption under the image. I wish she was grabbing me there. I love her curves. Signed by Michael Harrington? No. No.
No. This can't be happening. There's no way.
Charlotte feels her heart suddenly stop as her lungs ignite into an inferno. Her stomach caves in as she drops to her knees. She grabs her hair tightly, tears streaking down her face. She's doing all she can to resist passing out or throwing up. A confused murmur rolls over the crowd. She hears a student call out to her. Hey, Charlotte, when are you going to make an OnlyFans? Well, she's halfway there. She's already on her knees. A large section of the crowd lets out a laugh. She wanted to yell back at whoever it was and admonish them for even coming up with such a ghastly idea. But she couldn't find her voice. She couldn't so much as move her neck to see who had said it.
I feel completely weightless. This has to be a nightmare. There's no other way. Nobody would ever do something like this. I need to call my parents.
She uses what little strength she has to move her arm into her pocket and take out her phone. Her arms shake so badly that it felt like it was going to break out of her socket. Charlotte is barely able to unlock her phone before she drops it. The phone skids to the feet of a student. She tries to drag herself to the phone before the student picks it up for her.
Oh, thank goodness that someone is helping.
The student then lowers himself to her eye level. Her heart sinks into her lungs as she sees who it is.